Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's introduction to Alumni Finder Online featuring Alumni Finder Search. I'm Raquel Stark, Vice President of Data Solutions for Alumni Finder and today's presenter. I'm also joined with Jeanette Rumsey, Alumni Finder's Corporate Education and Engagement Manager. Jeanette will be assisting with the demonstration today and managing questions throughout the webinar. Now, before we get started, I'd like to review a few important items with you. Now, questions can be submitted throughout today's webinar, but we'll address a few throughout the session, and we'll also leave some time at the end to address any other questions that may have come up. So make sure that you use the Q&A panel within the GoToWebinar platform to submit the questions that you have. And if we find that there are questions that don't get covered, feel free to email them to info@alumnifinder.com for a prompt reply, or you can call us directly at 888-732-0581. Okay. So with that, let's get started. Alumni Finder Online, featuring Alumni Finder Search, is our latest online portal for your prospect research, development, and fundraising needs. So you'll see that upon login, we default to the Alumni Finder Search tab and the Person Search Premier. So I'm going to get started with reviewing some of the site's navigational tools to get you more familiar with us. So at the top of the page, you'll notice that here is where we have our information regarding how to contact our sales and support team, so you can email or call us. Next to that, we have an FTP link. So if you're working with us in an offline fashion, potentially on some batch jobs, you can submit files to us through there. And then we also have our main alumnifinder.com website if you need to redirect to that site. Underneath that, we have our help section. And underneath here, we have a lot of resources to help you use the tool. So we have our Getting Started guide. We also have a frequently asked questions document we've put together. We have a Transitioning to Alumni Finder Search document that really compares the differences between Accurate and Alumni Finder Search. And then we've added in some videos to help you better use the tool from a searching perspective, some of our more familiar searches that our users are using, along with generating reports. And then we've put together a webinar that's specific for our administrators, and then this general introduction webinar as well. Next to that, we have our home button, which will keep you within the Alumni Finder online tool, and then our log out. So let's take a look at the tabs across the top of the page. Each of these tabs represents a data product or service supported by Alumni Finder, and will provide you with additional information that may be beneficial to your organization. So, as I mentioned, you start on Alumni Finder Search, but next to that, we have our batch and data resources. So within here, if you were to click on anything that we have listed available, you can learn more about the postal data offerings we have, our data hygiene services, along with our data enhancement services. Under Modeling and Analytics, here's where you can gain more information about our snapshot profile, along with our response and predictive modeling services. Under Digital Solutions, here's where we have information about our email marketing, our display, and our social advertising capabilities. And then the last tab there is our database marketing. So if you want to learn more about the services that we have available to you in database marketing, you can find more information out there. Okay. So we're going to focus on Alumni Finder Search today. And within here, you're going to see 6 tabs that feature searches, reports, and your account details. So if you look to the individual tab, you'll see the Person Search Basic and the Person Search Premier. Now, in Accurate, these would have been your Person Search or your Advanced Person Search. And here's where we find that the prospect research will typically begin. Additional searches can be found under the Contacts section. So here's where you can find your Contacts Plus search. We have an email search available, an employment search. We also have 2 phone searches, a basic and a premier. We have a reverse phone search. We also have a social media search, and we have a voter search. Next to that, we've got our corporate tab. And here's where you can do some searches on businesses, so our company search is available to you within this. The next tab is legal, and we've got a variety of different searches here for you to use for aircraft information, to to identify bankruptcy information, any professional licenses, property details, so if it's coming from assessment information or deed information. Under the legal tab, we also have our deceased search, our judgment search. Here's where you can do a marriage search and a watercraft search as well. Now, next to this is the report section, and here's where all your reports are going to be housed. So any of your prospect summary reports, any company summary reports, or any contact detail reports. Last, we have the My Account tab, and within My Account, you'll have access to various account details. We'll be reviewing those a little bit later. Now, to the far right of the screen, you can access your recent searches by clicking on the Recent Searches pick list. Okay, so now that we've reviewed some of the general navigation, I want to get started with running some searches and reports so that you can see a further deep dive into what the site can do. Now, as I mentioned, upon login, when you click on the Home button, you're going to arrive on the Person Search Premier screen. Now, if you'll note, on the upper right-hand side of the screen, there are some search tips. That's really going to offer you some guidance on how to run and narrow down your searches. So if you're finding that you're maybe not getting results in the way that you need to, please refer to these. Now, you'll also notice that there are some informational tips next to some of the search fields. And these tips are able to help you with some important details on what you need to enter into the search criteria tool to make the most and get the best results. Now, the Person Search Premier allows you to perform prospect research using different types of information. So you can, of course, input any of the data points that we have available there. So, most of our researchers are using, last name, first name, address, any geography information that they have about that prospect. But also within here, you're able to identify some additional subject information, and this isn't something that we have available on the basic search. So let's say you have another last name for that person, perhaps a maiden name, or you know another area where they may have potentially lived, so you can put in that other city or state. And then also, if you have a relative, so maybe you have their parent's name or information, you can put that in there as well. So we're going to go ahead and put in a search. But first, I'm going to highlight the LexID. So the LexID is really something that is unique to the LexisNexis data. We've found so many clients using this in replacement of a Social Security number because of all of the sensitivity around, sensitive data elements like date of birth, Social Security number. We're in such an age where data privacy is so important. And what our partner at LexisNexis has done over the past 30-plus years of compiling information is create the LexID, which is a proprietary linking tool that really stays with that record. So when you are researching individuals, every record will have a LexID, and you can actually store that and use that and come back to see if there's been any changes within that record, and that's never going to change. It's going to stay with that person regardless of where they go, where they may move to. So it's definitely a great tool to be able to use and help you with keeping other data elements private and still doing your research effectively. So now, Jeanette is actually going to do a sample search for us. Sorry, I jumped a little ahead before. I got excited. So she's going to put in her information. So we're going to run a query based on that so that we could see the results on Jeanette that come back for the Person Search Premier. So once you've input your information, you're going to land on your search results page. And on here, we've got a bunch of different items that we can show. So you can edit the search. So if you want to just click on that, it's going to bring you back to the page that you were previously on. So if you wanted to maybe add in an age or some additional contact points to narrow down your search, you could do that. You can also create a new search from here. So you maybe input the wrong individual, and now you want to go and actually start a new search. You can actually print the results of this page too, so you can print from here, or you can export it into Excel. So that's all available for you. Now, if you will notice, when we look at the results, there's a few different ways that we can really work with this. So you can actually email that record to yourself, so that individual record, or you can print that individual record, and all that information that appears on the screen will get printed. You're going to see the name information that we have that we've been able to match based on what has been input. You will see details on what that LexID is for that record. So again, that linking technology that you could store in your database for further research. You're going to see the address information, that history information about that. There will be another indicator if it's the current probable address, if LexisNexis has that information on file. You'll see the phone number and information potentially about that phone number, whether it is connected or disconnected or associated potentially with somebody else. What I really like to highlight about the Person Search Premier is the More Results feature. So within More Results, it's going to list out some additional information about your donors or your alumni without you having to actually go and run another search to try to find that. So there's really 3 areas that you show for More Results. It could be some property information and some email information and some phone information. So for Jeanette, we have indicated that there's more results on her. So if we're doing some research on Jeanette, hey, maybe I want her email, that's great. I don't have to go and run an email search on her. I'm telling you here, yes, we have email information, and you can simply click on that and get results and see that. So it's definitely a feature for the Person Search Premier that we find a lot of our clients find useful without having to continue to go in and run subsequent searches. We're able to tell you through this search some additional contact points that are available for that record. So the other item that I wanted to highlight on this page is the More Options. The More Options drop-down. So within here, this is where you can generate a report, which we're going to do. You can also identify next steps. So if you wanted to see who the relatives were for that individual, their neighbors or associates, that's something that you can do within here. You can also do some quick searches. So if you're like, yes, now this is my person that I want to learn more about, and I want to see their Contacts Plus report. I want to do an email search, or I want to do a Phone Search Premier. You can instigate that from here without having to go back into the top and run a subsequent search.
And Raquel, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and jump in with our first question. We have one of our webinar attendees today that is asking what the difference between a Phone Search Basic and a Phone Search Premier is, please.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jeanette. Yeah, let's talk about that. So the Phone Search Basic is looking at information for phone numbers that's coming from white pages, telephone directory data, and it's really going to be focused on landline phone numbers. And as we know, a lot of people have kind of moved away from that. So we've found that more of our customers are using the Phone Search Premier because it expands past just your landline information and is really looking at unpublished phone numbers and wireless phone numbers, which has really been kind of the predominance of what people have been using to communicate, via phones, obviously with everything that we've had going on in the past few years. So that's really the difference between us, between those two searches. Happy to use both of them, but we find that a lot more of our clients are using the Phone Search Premier.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so how about this? Why don't we go and generate a report?
Sounds good.
So when you opt to generate a report, you're going to get directed to this, our Generate Report screen. And we have 2 report options. We have our Prospect Summary Report, which in Accurate would have been your comprehensive report. And then we have our Contact Detail Report. So I'm going to go through the Prospect Summary Report first. And a lot of the feedback that we had gotten specifically about the report was that there was a lot of information, it was kind of cluttered, so we tried to make this as much user-friendly as possible. So anything that's checked is going to be defaulted. You can obviously remove information, you can make edits to your report where There are drop downs for the amount of information that can be shown. So you can customize this based on how you need. Now, we also added a few features to this. So if you wanted to get the email information added to your report, you can do that. There is a small upcharge that's associated with that. And any item that you see with a dollar mark is just going to indicate to you that's going to be an additional charge on top of the standard charge for your report. So once you've made any edits to this that you want, you can also put in a reference code if you want to link it to maybe a project that you have, because your reports are saved, so this way you can find that later. But once you've done all of that, all you're going to want to do is simply click on Get Report, and your report's going to begin processing. Now, it's automatically going to display in a new window, and I will just give a recommendation to everybody who's on the line. So if you're using the reports, make sure that you've got your pop-up blocks disabled, so that this way it can be come up. If not, then you're going to have to go in and view those manually. Now, when your report does come up, you're going to notice it's very simple to use, and the navigation on this is so just easy. So at the top of the screen, you can page through. You can pick the page that you want to go to. I really love that. We've got our arrows, so you can obviously go to the next page. You can do a find within the document. So if you wanted to look specifically for the voter information or a certain word, it'll pull you right to that section or where that first instance of that word might be. From here, you can also save this. You can download this and save it. If you were moving throughout the document and you wanted to go back to the top, you could click on refresh, and then you can also print this. Now, on the left-hand side where the document map is, again, another way for you to navigate throughout the report. So you can click on any of those subsections, and they're going to hyperlink you and refresh your report to that section. So another report that we have available. So Jeanette, let's go back into your record if you don't mind. Just go to your recent searches. Great. So let's run another report on this so that we can show the contact detail report. Now, the contact detail report was the contact card report in Accurate. And again, we've done the same thing that we've done with a prospect summary report. So we've pre-populated the information that you need. Anything that is checked is going to be defaulted. You can uncheck the phone's Premier that we've been able to customize for you, but the contact card report did default with certain information, so we want to make sure that that is received. You can add in your reference code as well. Make any changes on this page that you need to. And again, just click on Get Report.
Raquel, I'm going to take a chance to ask you another question while this is loading.
Sure.
So we have one of our attendees that is asking, how long are their searches and reports available?
Well, that is a great question. Your searches are actually available for 24 hours, so they will appear in your drop-down for that long. And your reports are available for 7 days, so you wouldn't be charged again for a report that you've already run on that individual, as long as it's in that 7-day window. And then searches are the same thing. Make sure that you're using your recent searches so that you can access those.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, so our contact detail report. So again, the functionality of how to maneuver within this is exactly the same, because it does show some different information than that prospect summary report, which is really, really comprehensive and gives you a lot of data points. This is going to give you the information that's associated with this specific report. So your subject information, your AKAs, your address summary, some home and work details, and the various other data points that are shown here on the screen. So again, reports are super simple to use, very easy to navigate. We've gotten some really great feedback from our clients on that. So moving on, wanted to definitely highlight the Person Search Premier. It is something that a lot of our clients are using, but I wanted to touch on a couple of different searches that are also available that are really popular with our customers. So the first one that I want to cover is under the contact section. Let's do an email search, Jeanette. So, all of our inputs for what is required on the search field are somewhat standard. You're going to notice that depending on the search, it's customized for certain things. There's obviously going to be certain information available on a particular search than on another search. But for the email search, really, you just need a name, an address. If you have an email, we can do an email lookup here as well to validate that email or find additional information on that individual. So once you have your information here, you're just going to want to click Submit. And again, your results are going to appear on the screen. So all of the same functionality that we saw on your results page when we ran a Person Search Premier. Differences here are you're going to see the name, you're going to see the email address that's associated with it, and the address that is on file. So for me, they actually have my work email associated here with the work address that we have. All right, so the next search that I want to show is going to be under the contact section, and it's a new search that we have, we launched last month, a social media search. So the social media search, we're pretty excited about it. We've had a lot of clients that have been asking for this because they want to continue to do their research based on the social channels. So you do need to have an email address. So I'm going to put in, Jeanette's going to put in for us an email address, one of my email addresses that we have. So if you have an email address, you need to have an email address to do this search. That's what it's going to be linked on. We do have the ability here. We've added in for you, so you don't have to go back to the email search page and do that. You do have the ability here to search on an email just with the same inputs that we just went through on the email screen. So if you want to do that first, it'll search for an email and then search for the social. So for this demonstration purpose, I want to take you through how to do this. So you're going to input your email, you're going to hit Submit. When your results come up on this, we're looking at a database of over 75 million different social media handles from social media sites that you're familiar with. So think Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of those. So when your information comes up, again, it's the same functionality on the screen to be able to maneuver within the site, but your results are going to show you the name that's associated with it. So this, like for me, it's one of my older emails, so it has my maiden name. It'll show you the email that we matched to. It's going to give you my social media handle for Facebook, and then it will actually take you, as long as you're logged in, it will take you over to that Facebook page or that social media page for that individual so that you can do further research. All right. So let's move on to the corporate tab and run a company search. So this was another search that we've had a lot of clients asking for to help them with researching some information on businesses that might be giving a matching gift. So on here, because we are searching on businesses, you're going to want to put in the company information. If you do have a contact name at that company, you can add that in. It's going to help your search if that individual is on file with that company. And you're going to, again, click Submit. We've entered in Accudata, and Alumni Finder is a division within Accudata. So we've put in Accudata, and as you'll see, the results on this page a little bit different because we're looking at a business, not at an individual. So we have our company information. You're going to have the address that matched for it. You're going to see a phone number. We'll talk through more options in a second. But you're going to also see that there's additional names that match up to this, what those addresses are. So we've got some of our previous addresses, other names that we have associated with our business, and then any parent company information. So we are actually owned by Compact Information Systems, and they are based in Redmond, Washington. So that's the type of information that you're going to see when you get your results for that company. Now let's go back up to the more options in that drop down. So here's where you can actually run a report. So let's say this is a company we want to find out more information on. We want to run a company summary report. And what we, again, default to, you're going to get the company name and the tax ID number variations, and you're going to get some information on the parent company and the industry information. Anything else that you want to add to this report, again, you'll see that $sign. They can be added just at an additional charge. So if you wanted to know of any bankruptcies, if you wanted to see any corporate filings, or anything else about that business or potential assets, properties that they own, you can do that here. Same functionality that we reviewed with the prospect summary report and with the contact detail report, only again, we're looking at business information. So you'll hit Get Report. Your report will process. So, as you see, all of our reports look very similar. They're, all the same, and you're going to have the same navigational abilities within the company report as you do within any reports that we have for when you're doing research on an individual. Okay. So, Jeanette, let's go and show two of the legal searches.
Absolutely.
So the first one that I want to start with is, let's do a deceased search. And we have a lot of clients that use this. So nobody wants to be reaching out to anybody who's passed. So there's two ways that you can actually identify a deceased individual. So we're going to actually input my father because he's passed. And this is one way to do it. You can use the deceased search. So we're just going to put in his name, we're going to put in the state of Florida, and we're going to see what results come up. Okay. So when you run a deceased search, the information is coming from the death records. And you're going to actually see the decedent's name, their address, the county and state. You'll also be able to see, that Lex ID if it's associated with that record, the date of birth, the date of death information, where that was located, and the death certificate number if that is available. So that's one way that you can actually identify a deceased individual. You still have the ability to do more options on that record, just as you would when you're running, other searches. So you could run a report or you could do some quick searches. What I'd like to show you is really how you can identify another way to identify if someone's deceased. So yeah, let's click on that Lex ID. And this is something I probably should have highlighted earlier. So we've allowed users to be able to do subsequent searches. So anything that was in blue is a hyperlink, and you can run a subsequent search based on that. So, we talked about the power of the Lex ID earlier. Let's say we had Robert Sotomayor in our database previously, and we had his Lex ID on file already, and we actually wanted to run Person Search Premier on him. So I hadn't run a deceased search yet. I'm running my Person Search Premier. So had I just ran for his name or just his Lex ID on here, I'm going to show that he is deceased. So we highlight that in red. So even if you're running a general search on someone, we're going to be able to show you if they're deceased or not. So just something to keep in mind. If you don't need to run a deceased search, or if you're running just a regular search, you're going to know what those deceased records are. Okay, so the last search that I wanted to show under legal is going to be marriage, the marriage search. So here, this is looking at marital status. So you're looking at marriage filings and you're looking at divorce filings. I've had that question kind of come up a couple times. So we're going to put myself in. And we're going to look in Florida. Let's do that, Jeanette. And hit submit. Okay, so your marriage search, again, it's looking at marriages and divorces. So you'll be able to see the marriage and the divorce information. So my divorce information pops up first. You'll see both spouses listed, all the filing types, all the filing information, if that county discloses it. And something that I want to point out is that there are certain areas that do not release information. So actually, you know what, Jeanette, can you go back and edit that search? Oh, no, never mind. Let me just stay on the screen. The coverage. So this is something that I should have pointed out. So it's important when you're running your searches that if you're not getting results or you think maybe something's missing, we do have coverage boxes. And this is available on every search that we have. and it's always right there next to the search tips. So you're going to be able to see if a state or a county, what that coverage looks like, when it began and kind of, when it ended, to make sure that you're looking at the right information. So in case you ever have questions, something comes up, that's definitely something that I like to point out to users. Specifically with the marriage search, because we find that there are certain states and certain counties that really don't release that information, and I've had a lot of clients ask, so I wanted to point that out specifically here. But it does apply to all of our searches, and property searches specifically is another area because there are some counties that just don't release that information. But for the marriage search, again, you're going to be able to see the divorce information, and you'll be able to see the marriage information. So whatever is on record within that county for that information, you'll be able to see. Okay. So let's move into, the reports library. That's perfect. Thanks, Jeanette. So this is going to be the repository for all the reports that you've generated. So you can search for them here. You can view them here. We've got tabs for the prospect summary, for your company summary, and for your contact detail reports. So, again, anything that you've run in the past 7 days is going to be here. You can, click to download it from here. You can, see who requested it, when it's going to expire, in case, you're curious about that. So we've added that in as a feature for you to be able to see. You'll know who ran it, what the status was of it in the event that it didn't complete. You can download from here. Under the options, on that little I informational, that's where you're going to see what was put into the report. So let's say you made some edits or you removed things, but if you're like, what did this report include again? What were the areas that it covered? You'll be able to see that on here. So pretty straightforward. Now, the last section that I wanted to cover on here is going to be my account. So let's start with the summary section. So here's where you're going to see all your account details. So I like the summary section because this is really just going to give you what the information is on your account. So obviously your information, your login, the company that you're associated with. We also indicate on here who your admin is. So we've gotten this question a lot of times from users. Maybe they don't have access to a certain search, and we have your admins that have the ability to manage the level of access that you have. And I know that sometimes people that are unsure of who their admin are. So if you don't know who your admin is, you can definitely look here under the summary section for my account. You'll be able to identify that. Here also is going to be just kind of reiterating our customer support, so our help desk information. We're going to identify who your sales representative here at Alumni Finder is in case you wanted to talk to them about running searches or other potential opportunities that you might have. We also show on here the searches that you're enabled for. So again, why we've got your admin information here. If you're seeing, I don't see the email search, or I'm missing something, I think I should have access to this. This will show you everything that you have access to. And then at the top of the page that I kind of skipped over, I wanted to leave it for last, is this authentication section, and we have the full date of birth indicated here. So, we talked earlier about Social Security numbers being, so related to privacy, and we consider date of birth, and our partner LexisNexis considers date of birth a very sensitive data element. So, upon login, if you're a brand new user to the system and you've never used this before, when you first log in, you're going to get this message about a secure data alert. And when this happens, you automatically will receive an email from Alumni Finder, and it's going to give you a code. If you want to have access to the full month, day, and year of birth, then you're just going to have to input the code into the box here, click Authenticate, and you'll have access to that. If that's not something that you need for your research purposes, that's fine. You can completely skip this step. If you find later that that's something that you need, you can simply go back into My Account under the Summary tab, and you can, again, what Jeanette just did, click on Edit, and you can, again, the process will continue. You'll get a code, and you can gain access to that. So the only other time we're going to ask for this is every 90 days, just to validate that it is the correct user gaining access. so that we will do that. But other than that, that's the only time that you're going to be asked to authenticate. Okay, the next section underneath here is account pricing. So this one's pretty simple. So here's where all your pricing is going to live for Alumni Finder Search. So if you are ever curious about what you're paying for your searches or reports, you'll be able to access this here. And as we add new products and services, your pricing sheet will always be updated. The next section is the account details. So under account details, here's where you can actually make some edits. So let's say you got married, or let's say your phone number, your title changed. You can make those edits here in real time to your account and just click Save. And also under My Account, you can change your password. So this question, I think, has come up a couple of times. Jeanette, have we gotten any questions about changing your password in?
We actually have a couple, but I knew we were getting to this section, so it's perfect timing.
Okay, so here's one way. If you need to change your password, I know a lot of organizations, have their password policy programs, and they might send you reminders of, hey, don't forget to change all your passwords. So you as a user have the ability to go in and change your own password. You just have to complete the information here within the form and adhere to the password requirements that we have illustrated on the page as well. And again, click Save to make sure that your update's saved. Another way to, change your password, if, let's say, when you go to log in, we do have the forgot password there. So you can, reset your password from there, or you can always contact your company administrator. They can change your password, or of course call us here at Alumni Finder, and we'd be more than happy to make that edit to your account as well. Okay, and the last section underneath here is the account settings. So all our users have access to account settings, and here is where you can change two things within here. So let's say, you know what, I don't use the Person Search Premier. That's not my default search that I want. I want to default to the Person Search Basic. You can make that edit within here. Again, just click Save, and that will save to your account, and that will be your new default every time you log in. You'll default to that search. The other item that you can set on your account is the product menu. So when I mean the product menu, I mean those tabs on the top that talk about Alumni Finder Search, batch and data resources, all of those ancillary products. So let's say, you know what, I don't need to see that. I'm working within Alumni Finder Search. I want that collapsed. You can do that as well here as a setting. Or if you scroll up, see the little arrows in the corner? Yeah, from that. That will hide that for you as well. So if you set it here, you don't have to worry about using those little arrows in the corner. It will just be like that for you when you log in. Now, everything that's under My Account that we reviewed is specific to users. If I've got any admins that are on the webinar today, you guys do have additional features available on there to manage your users. You have features for your invoicing and payments. You also have features so that you can kind of view history on your usage of the system and report to there. So we cover that in the Alumni Finder Search Administration video. So that's available on the help section. Of course, you can contact your representative at Alumni Finder, and they can help walk you through that as well. So with that, that was the last section that I wanted to cover, Jeanette. Do we have any questions that have come in that we haven't talked through?
We do. We have several questions that our attendees have asked.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and start working with those. The first one is on pricing. We have an attendee that is asking if pricing within the Alumni Finder Search platform is different than on Accurint.
Oh, great. No, actually, no. Pricing between the two systems are the same. So you won't see any changes from what your search prices are within Accurint or Alumni Finder Search.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next question is about a user that would like to suspend their Accurint account. Is that possible?
Yeah, actually that is. So if you'd like to have your Accurint account suspended, we just ask that you send a request to your Alumni Finder representative, and they can get that handled for you.
Sure. Thank you. And here's a great question. How long can I stay logged in before the system times out?
Oh, that's great. So that actually can be set by your system administrator, and we do have that available to them. The system can support being logged in for up to 8 hours without timing out. So if you're finding that you're using the system and maybe you're timing out after an hour or 30 minutes or whatever setting is, if you find that you need more time, we ask that you contact your system administrator and they can set the timeout period for the company as a whole.
Great. And we have a very sweet user who said she apologizes because she knows you just showed her where to go to change her password, but she's asking if you would please show it one more time.
Yeah, that's fine. So again, there's a couple of different ways. If you're already logged in the system and you want to change your password because of password policies within your organization, you can do so right here, change password. Another way, so let's say you've just forgotten your password. Jeanette wanted you to log out actually.
Sure.
So you can do your forgot password on this screen. So if you've forgotten your username or forgotten your password, you can also, that's another way for you to reset your password.
Excellent.
So I know we didn't show that before, but yeah, we've gotten that a couple times.
Okay, great.
No problem.
Thank you so much. So now we get to the point in today's presentation where I get to ask our favorite question. And this is what's new, what's exciting, what's different. What can Alumni Finder search users expect in the future?
Oh, that's great. So, this is probably my favorite thing. We launched Alumni Finder Search in 2017,
Yes.
and the goal was, hey, we want to be able to offer our clients all of the searches and reports that they were having access to within the Accurate platform, and we've done that. We've continued to get feedback of maybe other things that we need to do. We are going to be tying in some more information. So we're actually going to expand past just Alumni Finder Search. So you'll see additional searches coming up. You're going to see some more information that's detailed around wealth and philanthropic activities. We'll show some expanded reports, but we're going to be building out on some of those additional tabs that we've shown. So like our batch and data resources, we're going to be adding in our data quality report and the ability to do some batch processes that our current online customers haven't been able to fulfill online before. So we're really excited about that. Some really good things coming forward in 2018.
This is all great news. Very exciting. Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem. All right, so do we have any other questions for now?
That's it. Those are the only questions that have come in.
Okay. All right, well, on behalf of the entire Alumni Finder team, Jeanette and I just want to thank you guys for attending the webinar today. I know we covered a lot, and the tool is pretty powerful. So if you have any questions regarding Alumni Finder Online or any of the Alumni Finder products and services, please email us at info@alumnifinder.com, or you can call us at 888-732-0581. We hope that you enjoyed the webinar and enjoy the rest of your day.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, everyone.